Right.
We're live.
Welcome to the Select Board meeting, March 21st, 6:33. We'll go ahead and open as per our customary with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and we'll continue the roll call of members. Myself, Dave Hemingway, the chair of the Select Board.
Normandy Blake.
Marlo Herrick.
And that moves us right along to the entertainment, which I guess is kind of part of announcements. But Dee was re-elected, which is great. And so that brings us to reorganization of the Select Board, which I think Dana will just tell us the short version of.
Basically, it's to start off your new year picking your chairman and anyone else you want to pick. So you would just nominate who you'd like to have as your chairman, and it's a hard-run fight, but
Or women.
or chairwoman.
Or select it.
Pardon me.
Well, I make a motion to, and nothing to you, but Mr. Hemingway.
Second.
David.
Second.
Okay, so we can move on from that.
So you need to take a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Is that going to be our easiest vote all night?
It
Yeah,
might be.
for you it was, not
Right.
Dave.
That
He didn't
moves
even
us
have
on
a
to
choice.
continuing announcements. Well, I could have said no thanks, but
Yeah, no.
that moves us on to continuing announcements. Do you have any specific announcements for us?
I do not tonight.
All right, and do either of you?
Oh, but welcome as chair
All right.
again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have any specific announcements today, so that's good. That moves us on to our appointments. So the first one is new appointments to the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, Mr. Pulowski is here. Why don't you come on up here, sir?
Yay, right? Welcome.
I've sent you the paperwork on Mr. Pulowski. As you know, the Conservation Commission has unanimously nominated him to be a member of the Webster Conservation Commission. And here's a chance for you to meet him.
Awesome.
And we thank you in advance.
Welcome, and thank you for volunteering to do
Yeah.
the town's work for the town. I guess I'll just give you a brief moment to say why you want to do it, and thank you.
I just want to see the conservation of the land uses and stuff of the town being taken care of. I live on Pillsbury Lake. I'm very disheartened that the Article 2 didn't pass. I think it's very important that something like that come into being. I worry about land use and the amount of pesticides and stuff that's getting into that lake, as well as the one up here and Walker Pond and any place else. But I'm not a tree hugger. I'm not a tree hugger. I think we need to cut trees down. I'm a woodworker, so I believe in cutting trees. I believe in hunting. I was a hunter at one time. But I don't believe in hunting a coyote at night. I don't believe in baiting bear and baiting coyote just so you can go out there and shoot them. If you're a hunter, you track that animal, you watch for that animal, you learn about that animal's movements, and I think that's one of the things that needs to be reinforced. I don't know. I think it's an important part of the running of the town, and quite frankly, they put an ad in the paper and said, does anybody want to be part of it? And I answered the ad. So, you know, got to watch out what you ask for. You never know what you might get.
Exactly.
So, here I am.
Thank you. Any of the board have any questions?
No.
All right.
Volunteers, don't let them go.
Well, thank you. It sounds like you already have support of the Conservation Commission, and it sounds like you'll be a good fit for them. So what do we need to do? Is it just a signature? Or
You
do
would
we
need
a
to
motion?
have a vote.
Okay.
Motion to appoint him to the Conservation Commission, and then I'll be giving you the appointment.
And this is the full position, or?
This is for a full member, yes.
Okay. In that case, I would move to accept the nomination of Joe Pulowski to the Conservation Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would have an
Thank
appointment
you.
for you that at some point when you're downtown, have Michelle swear you in.
Oh, okay.
And so
Is she still down there?
Yeah, she doesn't have the
She is right
paperwork
now,
yet,
yeah.
but as
Oh.
soon as she does,
All right.
she'll have it by Wednesday. She'll be back.
Okay, no sweat.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
coming.
You're welcome.
All right.
I saw it.
Do we have any other appointments for the Conservation Commission?
I have some reappointments that I've got later in the meeting,
Oh, okay.
if you'd like to wait for them.
Sure, we can do that later. Oh, I see, yeah. So that would move us on to our second appointment, Dave Croft, our Merrimack County Sheriff. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you. Good evening. It's nice to see you. I don't know if I've met you, Selectman, personally. I know these two lovely ladies that serve as your bookends. As they say, the thorn between two roses.
All right.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's nice to be back in this building. I was a longtime Webster resident and spent many a day in this building, so it's a nice feeling to be able to come back. What I've put a mission to do when I took office 15 months ago is I'm trying to get around to all the different select boards and my two city councils to pretty much give an education as to what my office does. I was amazed, and as I'm sure you know, my position's elected, so I was amazed during my campaign and then the last 16 months of how many folks actually don't know what my office does. And I feel it's important that the government bodies of each town of the 27 that I have within Merrimack County have a good working knowledge of the sheriff's office, because we have a good portion of the tax bill. Now, when you look at a $95 million county tax bill, I'm $3 million of that, and I'm a small little item, but I still think it's important that if somebody comes to you and says, hey, why are we paying this? What's the sheriff's office do? Or why is there a cruiser here or something like that? I think it's important that you have a good working knowledge. As you all know, and I'm very proud to report, that the commissioners this year came to us department heads and said, hey, we want you to submit a zero budget and have a zero impact on the taxpayers this year. And I'm proud to say that we were successful in doing that. Obviously, evaluations and things like that are going to make a difference, but the county overall budget is equal to what it was last year, so I'm happy to be able to say that. Now, a lot of that obviously has to do with opera money and things of that nature, so, but in the same aspect, I'm happy that we'll be able to do that. A little bit about me. I'm close to your chief, who, by the way, is a wonderful man. You're very fortunate to have him. I'm close to getting up to him as far as years in service. I'm almost at 38 doing this. My prior life, I spent 25 years in the town of Bosquen. The last 14 years of that, I was their police chief. I left there in '07. I came onto the Sheriff's Department in '07. I was assigned to the county attorney's office, and I ran their alternative to prosecution program. I did that for close to 15 years. And then my predecessor resigned, and I saw an opening that I said, why not run for office? So I decided to do that. My office consists of about 70 individuals. That's both sworn and civilian. It's broken down into all aspects of different things. One of my largest units and one of the biggest revenue-making parts of my office is our civil department. We are ordered by statute to go out and serve civil process. Could be something like a landlord-tenant writ. It could be a divorce filing. It could be a restraining order. It could be what's called a writ of reprevalent. For instance, if you purchased a car and you went belly up on it, you didn't make payments, then we have to go out and take that. So we're very busy. Things were very slow over the last year or so because of the pandemic, but the floodgates have certainly opened. My revenue budget just for the civil unit alone is $322,000. So we're excited that things are picking up and the courts are starting to open back up. One of the things when I took office that was disturbing to me is that the way we used to handle our evictions is we go at the door, knock, and not literally, but boot them in the fanny and just put them on the street. And that was very concerning to me because ultimately that becomes a burden to all of us. It becomes a burden to our welfare department, it becomes a burden to our police department because folks are trying to commit crimes to feed themselves or to put a roof over their head. So I said there's got to be a better way to handle this. So what I have my staff do now is we research the folks that we're going to put to the street, and we'll either go there a day or two before to see if we can offer them services, or we'll bring the services the day of the eviction. A lot of the folks that we put out are struggling with a mental illness. A lot of them are struggling with a substance use disorder, or more times than not, most of them are struggling with both, because they're hand in hand. You have mental illness, you try to hide the voices with the illegal substances. So now we'll go there with somebody from Riverbend, we'll go there with somebody from a treatment facility, and we'll try to offer these services to these folks. Now, keep in mind, they don't all say, yeah, we're here, but we've had some really good responses, and it's been very beneficial. I happen to sit on the Concord Coalition and Homeless Board of Directors, and I have that network, so I already have people in line if we're putting somebody to the street that we can find a place for them to go. I have a transportation division. Prior to COVID, we were doing anywhere up to 720 transports a month. That slowed down during the pandemic, but that's starting to open up really a lot since the courts started to open up. We're tasked at getting people that have committed crimes and bring them back to answer to their crimes all over New England, all over the United States. So if somebody committed a crime here in Webster and took off to California to hide, if you will, if they were apprehended out there, I would fly 2 deputies out to bring them back. So we're very busy when the floodgates open, and they're really starting to open now. I have a warrants division. I have 2 deputies that do nothing but go around and look for people that have warrants for them. On any given time, we have anywhere between 400 and 500 active warrants. We arrest anywhere between 80 and 100 people a month, but that's just a revolving door, because as soon as we arrest people, there's more people coming in. Now, these crimes can be something as simple as they owe a civil fine of $50, or it could be something major like they're a drug dealer, committed a bad assault, or sometimes even homicide. So that stays a very active unit as well. We have a detective unit. I have 3 people in my detective unit. They're there to help the smaller towns that may not be able to handle the workload, may not have the expertise. And all my chiefs know that I'm just a phone call away, and we're happy to help out any way we can. Last year I was successful in getting a federal grant to bring somebody on board to do ICAC crimes. ICAC stands for Internet Crimes Against Children. I was amazed and maybe a little ignorant on how busy that was actually happening. And I said to the ICAC individual that I hired, I said, why? Can you tell me why I was so busy? And he said, in Merrimack County alone in the last 2 years, ICAC crimes have gone up over 300%. And I said, why is that? He says, well, look, we're asking folks to stay home and work from home. So let's call these folks, not all of them obviously, but let's call these folks our perpetrators. But then we're asking our kids to be homeschooled. And where are they? They're on a computer. So we had our perpetrators literally in a candy store. So hence the reason that the crime went up so drastically over the last 2 years. I'm very impressed in the individual that we were able to bring on board. He is a retired chief from Mount Vernon, New Hampshire. He lives in Henniker. Had some experience with the ICAC team. It's a federal organization. They supply us the grant, but they also do the training. So that's taken off really well. You're going to see this individual go around to the schools and some PTOs and stuff, because one of the parts on trying to slow down internet crimes against kids is education. And I got to tell you, I didn't know this when my kids were growing up, but we weren't in this internet phase. I spoke at Concord High School at 3 criminal justice classes last Thursday, and I didn't get on my soapbox in front of teenagers because they're not going to listen anyways, but I said, listen, people other than who you think you're talking to are listening. People who you're talking to aren't who you think they are. So parents have to be very much aware of what their kids are doing on social media. Kevin is his name, that does my OnCat crimes. And he said, in my house, tablets, phones don't get brought into a bedroom. He said, if you want to use the phone or your tablet or anything else, you do it in the common area, so Mom and I are here to see. And I never gave that a thought. I have a 16-year-old stepson, and he's in his room all the time like this. So it's just, it's an educational piece. A lot of these crimes are committed at libraries because the perpetrators have access to the internet there. So educating librarians, educating PTO, and things like that are important to me, and so you may be seeing that here as well. I have a communications department. We dispatch for 17 communities in Merrimack County, one being the town of Webster. It's one of the most difficult places for me to keep employment. Back in the day when I started this in the 80s, you know, we had a rotary phone. So if we're going to report something, we have to go find a payphone. You tell a kid nowadays a payphone, they say, what's that? But we have to go to a payphone. So we may be a mile or 2 miles away. So we're not real time. Now we're real time. So if you come upon an accident, you're going to see what's happening in real time. So if somebody's lost a limb or if somebody's burning or trapped in the fire, you're going to be able to communicate that real time to these communications folks, which is very stressful for them. And so this is a very difficult job to keep. You're familiar with the retirement system, Group 1 and Group 2. These communicators are Group 1. So they don't have the benefit of a Group 2, yet they're still asked to work nights, weekends, and holidays with a Group 1 pay, handling the stress, which I truly believe communication folks now are our first responders. Back in the day when I was out on the street, I considered myself the first responder. I don't anymore. So we'll always have a revolving door there. The county's been very good with throwing out sign-on bonuses and everything else, but I just don't have people kicking down the door. And that's not unique to what we do. We all are in a business where we know employment right now is extremely difficult. I have a court security division. We have 4 courts in Merrimack County, 3 circuit courts and 1 superior court. The 3 circuit courts are located in Franklin, Concord, and Hooksett, and then the Superior Court obviously is located in Concord. So I'm required by statute to supply security to all 4 of those courts. And recently we just took probate court back on for IEA, involuntary emergency admissions to the state hospital. So we're going to be supplying staff over at the state hospital every Thursday for that. And most of those folks are retired individuals, retired law enforcement. You know, I have a very good working staff over there. I have some folks, I have a deputy, 2 deputies assigned to the Attorney General's Drug Task Force. They work in undercover work, and their job is to go around and obviously try to buy illicit drugs. Obviously, we all can probably imagine they stay very busy. I have another deputy assigned to Homeland Security, where he is on the human trafficking task force. You know, we sit here in Webster, New Hampshire, and we say human trafficking in Merrimack County. I was amazed, but it's real and it's big. And again, it's an eye opener. And like Dee, you alluded to, you know, out of sight, out of mind. And if you don't read about it, and if you don't live it, or if you don't have somebody involved in it, you don't think it goes on. Well, I'm here to tell you that it does, and it's sad, but it does. We teach DARE program. We teach DARE here in Webster. In a few of our other towns where they don't have a DARE officer, and I'm happy to do that and get excited about doing that. I actually went with Chief Adams to your DARE graduation a few months ago, and it was really kind of cool to be there, having been a former DARE officer. You know, a lot of people say DARE, the message is old, yada yada yada, and I to a degree I might believe that. But when I used to walk into Bosquen Elementary School and the classroom's empty just to say hello, it's that bonding, it's that contract, knowing police officers are approachable. And that's really the true message that I think is beneficial. Not to mention, Johnny calls me, you know, 2 years later and says, hey, you know, Jimmy's doing this. So those things are very beneficial. My goal in taking office is I wanted to make a lot of change, and one of the things that I think is important that county government gives back to the communities that we serve. If we leave New England, we see sheriff's departments doing everything. And you know, back in New England, things are really restricted. I'm blessed. I was telling Chief Adams, I am at full staff. I don't know why, but maybe it's management. But I'm blessed, and that's allowed me to expand on the services that we offer. So we never had night patrols. We have 2 people out at night now. We split the county by the Merrimack, east and west. And my deputy's job is just to rove around the towns and listen to hot spots. So if there's a bad fire here, a traffic accident here, if Chief Adams has an officer that's had a bad domestic, and we're local, we're coming. The other night, there was a bad arrest up in New London, and they only had 1 officer on, and for them to transport that individual from New London to Bosquen and back and do the processing, they're gonna be out of town for 3 hours. They didn't have to do that. They called me, well, not me personally, but they called my office. We sent the deputy that was on duty up there and alleviated that. That's what I believe county government's for, and that's truly what I want to be able to offer to all my 27 communities. Some of the things on my bucket list, I'm looking to start a crisis intervention team. This individual will work with folks struggling with mental illness, de-escalation drills, be able to take them to suicide situations and things of that nature. There's a lot of federal money out there right now for that, so hopefully that will come to fruition. And then hopefully someday I'd like to see a dog in the sheriff's office. I don't want a dog that can bite. I don't think that that's something that is within our focus, but I certainly would like to see a dog that can do some search and rescue. If we have a missing child, dementia patient, which may be me in a few years, or something that can do narcotics. So anyways, that's me. I certainly thank you for your time. Hopefully this was educational. I'm happy to field any questions that you have.
I have something.
Oh,
I would love to have something every month from the sheriff, even if it's a paragraph or 2 to put in my paper.
oh, you convinced me in the 80s. I guess I'll do it now.
That's right. 'Cause
I will-
like you said, and like we
Wow.
talked about, people put it in their mind and they might keep their eyeballs open.
Sure, I'm happy to do
And
that.
I like all that stuff you guys do now. That's terrific.
Sure, I'm happy to do that for you.
Thank you. And it doesn't have to be a
We're
page.
back together.
Ah, I love it.
But you present it really well.
Thank you.
You know, and
That's
that's,
right.
that's always, you're right, I mean, there again, here we sit, well, here I sit and had no clue.
Well, and you
There's a
know,
lot,
and-
there's a
and-
lot to it, and the education, knowledge is power.
True,
So-
and you know, one of the things I neglected to say is, and a lot of people don't know this, the sheriff's office is the highest ranking law enforcement officer in the state, so we have more power, authority than any other law enforcement officer, including state police. So technically, I could go to Colebrook and run radar, or make a criminal arrest, and I have full state jurisdiction. So that's come from the days, and I use as an analogy, we all have heard of Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham. That's kind of where that came from. The settlers brought that authority and tag with them. So anyhow, well, thank you again.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
A question for you about kind of your, both your digital side and also your warrants side. I'll start with the warrants one. You mentioned that it was all kinds of different things. And I'm just kind of curious, what is the rough percentage of what would typically be deemed more minor? Because you mentioned some of it was just
A
a little
$50
bit
civil warrant for an
Yeah.
unpaid client.
Like, what's kind of a percentage of like the minor stuff versus this is serious drugs or like aggravated assault?
So
kind of
the
stuff?
number one thing is failure to appear in court. Somebody that's been arrested on felony and they're just like, I'm not going. The second is drugs. Civil, which is the small claim stuff, is way at the bottom and it's minimal. Most people pay a $50 or $60 fine. It's more felonies that are warrant related than anything else.
Mhm. And the second, which you alluded to some of it with the, I don't remember what the acronym was, but the Children Online. What kind of does it look like for your digital forensics for other things as well? That's actually one of the things that I've got passed in, so I'm unfortunately more versed in.
So when it
Those
comes to
crimes.
technology, Mr. Chair, I was meant to come across this country in a covered wagon. So it's difficult, but so how the internet thing, there's a cyber tip that's made to the National
I'm sorry, I'm more asking like, you mentioned you had somebody that was doing this
Mhm.
for children, but do you have an actual like cyber forensics unit or a couple people?
I
or-
do not.
Okay.
No, but this kind of dovetails, if you will, because they have the federal laboratory that does this stuff in Manchester, so they can go down there and get any of the assistance they need with that.
Okay,
I do not have anybody on that, though.
okay.
Thank you, and I expect to see something every month.
Thank you. Nice to see you all.
I know where to find you to
Take-
harass you.
Thank you.
Before we let you completely go, since we have some public here, does anybody have any questions for him?
And I didn't mean to have to like back to you guys, I apologize, other than you,
Alright.
chief.
Right.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks.
All right. That moves us on to our old business. First is the budgeted stipend and salary increases.
Yes, I have a stipend that I need you to approve. It's Karen King, the tax collector. This was her new approved salary that was voted on at the latest town meeting. The new annual stipend is $16,270 per year, as opposed to $15,796. And as you know, this is the form that I need signed that gives us permission for us to change the payroll.
Here, Dave, okay.
Okay, I can do it that way instead of grabbing that. All right,
That's the only one I have.
all right. And then that moves us on to,
Steve is indicating he has,
I also have the ones that, for the COLA increases that we've talked about and passed them out before town meeting. That's for the patrol, for Jordan and for
Yeah, right.
Michelle and for Lieutenant Mitchell.
didn't we just, when was the last time that we did
Didn't sign 'em.
did increases?
This was just prior to the town meeting,
We
but we
didn't-
never filled out the
didn't sign
paperwork
'em.
for it. We got the paperwork, we just never got signed.
So when was the last time that we signed an increase? I thought we just did that in like November or December.
It didn't get signed, not for this. This is the
you
COLA.
you did the part-time officers,
Mhm.
and then I believe you did a couple of increases in November.
November. Yeah, I thought we just did
This was for the,
increases.
just for the cost of living, for the COLA increases that we discussed beforehand, before town meeting.
Am I just blanking?
Well, it does seem to get a little convoluted with the fact that,
Everything comes
we
together.
talk to this, then we talk about this, and then this comes from here and this comes from there.
Yeah.
That's where I could be more confused than even you. I know we talked about increases,
But I thought we did them.
right?
Because we did give raises.
And this was part of it right here, and this was in the budget.
So it's already
It's already in,
part of
this is
everything.
already in the budget and everything, we just never got signed.
So what was the last time that we gave the increase for whoever's included here? And what was that percentage? And then what is the percentage that's in this?
This was for, we did this in November. This was for the November, we went over this in November before, as we were bidding for the budget process.
So we didn't, I thought we signed one in
No, that
November.
never got signed. The only one you signed was for the part-time to get the increases for the part-time officers.
Didn't you give Phil Mitchell a raise in November?
Phil Mitchell and, I think it was in October they got their raises.
Okay,
Phil Mitchell and,
that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so it was October.
and Jordan did,
Yeah.
to bring them up so that we'd keep.
Yeah, because those
keep our
were
staff.
those were the review-based
Right.
increases.
And these are
These
different.
This is COLA. This is just for the cost of living that we put in.
That would always happen, or happens anyways.
Well, these were to bring them up so that we would be comparable with everybody else in the area, and we're still way behind them. But we had sat down and talked about this for quite a while.
And I know we had talked
No,
about
I
going
remember
to
too.
more, I know we had talked about being more competitive. I thought we had started along that, and that's why we gave the last set of raises to be as large as they were.
And this is what this was for. This is part of it.
This is the cost of living.
Yeah, So help me out here. I'm familiar with in everything, both so far that I've been here that I remember, and certainly all of my professional stuff, where there's one raise per year unless you shift positions. And so why is this now instead of part of what we did in October, or like, what am I missing?
This would have been the COLA for town meeting, that we get after town meeting when the budget passes. But we had discussed this in October, November, leading up to it. And all these numbers were presented to you, and when we did the budget, everything was a go. The paperwork was never signed and never filled, other than for the part-timers to get their increase, that's it. And it didn't change the budget for the part-timers or anything, I just cut the hours to pay them more money so that I'd keep my part-timers. Because we're still, I mean, Franklin's paying $31 an hour for a part-timer, and we were paying $21 and change. So we jumped it to $25 an hour, but didn't change the budget stayed the same. Less hours, just paid them more, so we'd keep them. I mean, everybody around here is paying more than we are, and we're lucky to keep the people we have.
I don't know if I'm gonna help, but I do know the board has been working toward having reviews done in the fall, October perhaps, so that you can plan on the budget for the following year. I don't know if it was with the idea of, traditionally what this town has done has been waited till the town meeting approves the operating budget, and then has given increases and gone retroactive to January 1 to bring them up for the entire year. That has not been the case with Russ and myself. And I thought we were moving toward a fall review, a decision at that time what the raise would be, and the raise would be effective in January.
Oh, we can do that, because this has always been.
That's just kind of what
Everything
I-
holds until town
you
meeting,
know.
and then it gets retro back.
So this has been,
To make sure
I
it
mean, I can
passes.
see the confusion. I mean, it's, and I don't know if I always thought, I guess it's the annual increase is a COLA increase. I don't know how, it's always been 3% since.
So I've always seen, like, your standard review-based raise also has the COLA attached to it. You get all of it at once.
Right, yeah.
So,
We've never done that, not
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
We've never done it, and that's the way it should be. It should be all at once, not split twice.
right.
But I do remember talking about, here's what they're getting for an increase, and then there was gonna be a 3%.
Then a COLA
Yeah, I mean,
increase
I didn't know
that was
What's COLA
after
stand
town cost of living.
Oh,
That's for
Like COLA.
after, that's
Yeah.
after town meeting that
yeah,
they get that.
because that's in your budget, and
That's-
then
that
if
was
somebody,
already in
if
my
somebody
budget.
wanted to say, hey, they wanna strike your budget and it didn't pass, then they might not get the COLA.
Right.
So this is a 3%?
This is not a
COLA?
3%, this is beyond the 3%, and that was discussed also. This is to bring them up somewhat level to what we were. I mean, the cost of living for right now is 7.2%.
So what is the percentage that's in here?
There's two different percentages. One is 6 point, it's on
I
here.
gave it to you.
Oh, are they on the forms?
Oh, it doesn't give the percentage, it just gives the amount. So Lieutenant Mitchell's went from 32 to 3392. Jordan's went from 2401 to 2545. And Michelle's went from 2116 to 2243.
I thought we had just done that one too.
Not for this, that was
Okay.
beforehand. And that was, I mean, she was getting $17 an hour. And nobody gets $17 an hour. I mean, Franklin, their secretaries are making $40 an hour.
Okay. Any
This
questions
was,
or comments?
this was all discussed, it was in the budget
Wait, well,
beforehand
yeah, it was
and
discussed.
passed.
I remember that too.
The board has been asking me to have the reviews on hand in the files here. and
Yeah,
I
because
still don't have that.
our policy states that we can't
Yeah.
give raises unless we have the reviews, so.
Okay, that's not a problem, but cost of living is not a raise, it's not a review raise. But we can still do that, that's not a problem.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're missing
Any-
two, you're missing Michelle's and Jordan's.
Do I have any of them? I don't think I've seen
I
any
gave
of
you
them.
Lieutenant Mitchell's.
I haven't, yeah.
Okay, I'll bring all three
Yeah.
down.
I don't mean to be a
No, that's
nuisance,
okay.
but I really should have it. And again, you can put it in an envelope, I won't look at it, just put it in the safe.
No,
you know.
as far as I'm concerned, that should be open. And I don't-
That's just the way that the policy is
Why
written,
not? It
so.
should be open.
And I'm sure there's things that, you don't need to send out.
So any other questions or comments then?
We can get them all, that's not a problem.
Okay. So when, do you have a normal review time? Just, I'm veering off of this a little bit.
End of
but-
the year, we do it at the
Okay.
end of the year.
So would it
And it's,
make,
not to interrupt, nobody has done reviews here until I came here. There hasn't been a review done here
I'm
in 20
pretty
years.
sure that's one of the reasons why the policy ended up existing.
Yeah,
But,
which was a little odd.
But
Um,
so would it then make sense to set it up such that, for the future, when you do your reviews at the end of the year, we set it all up so that all of the raises, both the review raise and the COLA, are one thing and have been effective the first?
Absolutely. Why don't we set like November 1st? That way.
Sounds good.
It'll be well in time,
Mm-hmm.
before we usually start our budget process right around that time, so we'll have it done well in time.
Sounds good.
Absolutely, November 1st would be good.
Okay.
I don't know if you want me to continue on, if I'm up here, I have a purchase order too for the phone system, or do you want to wait on that?
I know we talked about, is that I remember we talked about where that was coming from too, that came in the department head meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you fill us in a little bit more?
It
I'm
did,
sorry, I'm a little
the-
scattered today from all the stuff I've been doing.
Yeah, that's not,
I mean,
yeah, I know,
you know.
I'm at a blank too.
I guess I'm just going to say, well, first of all, the telephone system at the police department is quite antiquated.
Mhm.
It needs to be updated.
Okay, absolutely.
So that's,
Impact fees, that's where it's coming
That's-
from.
and
Yes, thank you.
yeah, the impact.
And this is in the budget, right?
Well, we have impact fees that we have to use.
Yeah.
If we don't use it.
The impact fees are not in the budget.
Okay.
Right.
The impact
Okay.
fees are when people do construction or build a new home, they pay the town.
Oh,
pay
yeah, yeah, I
somehow.
know what you're, yes,
And,
yes,
you know,
yes,
and I know-
sorry.
It's only taken me 2 years to get this, so
Well,
I'm
I,
pleased to be able to tell you.
okay.
So we have $11,318.69 in the impact fees slated for public safety building. And the phone system is $5,325, plus they have to run cable, which is another $350 on top of it. Our phone system is,
Who's
it's
it
over
with?
20 years old. Here's the,
And
and here is,
and just because not everybody will have been at the department head meeting, you guys did basically request several quotes. And
we did, and we only got 2 back, and this quote was almost $3,000 cheaper than the next quote. And this is the guy that put the phone system in, that's in there originally, and was absolutely shocked that it's lasted 20 years. Usually 10 to 12 years is it, and it's gone 20.
Well, we've got our
And the-
money's worth,
the
I'd
bid-
say.
The bid for it is in the second, that's the second page.
But they're out of Belmont, okay.
Yes.
And is it a little bit more special in the sense because it is, you know,
We don't
all I know is we went through a phone system situation where we actually had fraud on our phone, and we got a bill for $27,000. So for 5 years, we had to pay extra at our company because AT&T somehow was related to that, and it was TDS at the time, and we had to pay back some of that money. Because they sent out a letter saying that you need to upgrade your phone because we can't protect you from fraud. And the Henniker Police still has the same phone that we got, that we had to pay to upgrade to a different one,
That's
that
what
we had the fraud.
This is
So it's scary.
Yeah, this is gonna be an upgrade, but ours is antiquated enough, we don't even have caller ID.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
every
and-
cell phone's got caller ID.
So with your equipment, have they shown you what the equipment?
Yes.
Okay, because that was the other thing when we switched to a different, from TDS to another, and the phone that they gave us is horrible. You have to answer and wait before you can say.
Yeah,
So I just want to make
this-
sure you
yeah,
tested.
this ain't like that.
Yeah. Okay. But that's what makes them kind
But
of.
that comes from the
important.
impact fee, so that doesn't,
And
technically
do-
doesn't
Doesn't
affect the
Yeah,
budget at
so
all.
we make a motion to accept this and take it out of impact fees, or not until the
I'll bring the
actual
motion
bill?
at your next meeting,
Okay.
and by then, usually I wait till I have the bill, so
Mhm.
I can ask you to make a motion to it.
Okay, so should we be signing this then at this
I
point?
think you would need to sign it to go
Okay.
forward with,
So go ahead.
And sign it, just give it to you.
yeah,
I like giving the bills to you.
yeah. Everyone does.
Yeah.
It works out good for me.
Yeah. I'll send you a
Oh,
copy.
my God.
Okay.
Phil will want a copy.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
small
yeah,
on this one.
he's got enough files for it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I forgot in my hand.
So for these,
Excuse me.
well, I guess the question is, when should he expect to have the reviews on file?
He'll have them down, I drop them off tomorrow.
Okay. Are we able to, because I know it's a signing, but do we make a motion as well for it?
You don't need a motion as long as I have the signed
Okay.
copy for the record. Unless you'd like to
That-
make a motion, of course.
I'm just thinking about the reviews, because our policy says that we have to have them.
When
Why
you get
don't-
the reviews, it's
so-
not like it's that.
Why don't you do a motion contingent upon
Right.
receipt of the reviews, and
But
that way
if
it'll be
the
clear.
signature is the important, like, I guess we could just do the motion and then it doesn't take effect until
You
you
know,
have them.
your town administrator would make sure he held on to them until they got the go.
All right, so, any other thoughts or comments on?
No.
Okay, so I guess the motion then would be to accept the increases contingent upon receipt of to take effect and contingent upon receipt of the reviews to be filed as per our policies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
So do we sign it because it's contingent and then they have it? I don't see
would-
why
it
we
would
don't.
seem like we
Yeah,
could.
I
Yeah,
don't
if
see
you
why we
would,
wouldn't do that.
that way, when I get that, I can give that to Wendy for the payroll.
All right.
Let me just repeat what I think you told me, and I'm sorry to make you go through it again, but this year, in the fall, after reviews, raises are going to be figured on COLA plus any merit that might be
Correct, all at once.
Yep.
together.
Which makes a lot of sense. So I don't have this confusion.
Yeah.
Oh, I only signed the top page. Oh, only that guy. Oh, Jordan. Oh, all right.
All right. Do we have anything further here?
Anything else, Steve?
I am good for that. Any questions on that? I'll be here anyway, I ain't going away.
Thank you.
Do we have any other salary stipend increases?
No, you do not.
All right. I was hoping you would surprise us with one for us or something.
Well, I could have, I could have slipped one through for Russ and me.
$251 is what you
That
get
wouldn't
now.
go over well. All right, so, that moves us on to old business Clothespin Bridge.
Yeah, I think that, and again, Clothespin Bridge, we've been waiting for these plans to come back, and so that we can have our public meeting, which is going to happen April 18th. We had talked about the condition of the bridge, and as you know, that you'll soon be asked to approve a payment for the plates that were put down on the bridge for the safety reasons. As far as I know, that's working out as well
Yeah.
as can be expected. I have been in communication with the engineers, and basically now we're at the point that we are very interested in how the impact is going to impact neighbors. And he did send me today, because they had given us a wide bridge, a 26-foot bridge. I may have this a little mixed up. And the state said, no, we're not going to approve the 26-foot bridge. We redid the plans to do a 24-foot bridge. Someone intervened, and now we came back with a 28-foot bridge.
To have the sidewalk though, right?
And which would add a sidewalk. Which I'm trying to find out, if we have a sidewalk, do we have to maintain it in the winter? I understand the state wants a sidewalk so that it would separate people fishing from the street, or get them, so they're not on the same level as the bridge.
Is there gonna be like a net so when they cast, no, just kidding.
So they don't fall in?
Yeah, well, wherever they cast and catch a car. No.
That's
never know.
amazing. The state decides they're gonna do a 28-foot bridge.
Well, and I have not gotten an answer of what happened. I thought it was one of you select board people that knew someone very influential in New Hampshire government.
Don't look at me, I don't know anybody.
I think somebody did, you know.
But I had heard of some concerns. So, at any rate, that is what they're working toward. The state engineer had the plans from July 26 last year until end of January.
So this person that knows this person,
Yes.
is there any way we can talk to this person and say that this is a little bit more dire than maybe was portrayed to her or him?
Well, I
whoever?
can't hear you.
You mean as
Well,
far
meaning,
as?
meaning, is there somebody that maybe we could talk to as a representative to say, hey, you know, it's getting so bad, we're having to rent plates, and
Yeah.
can we step up the process? Can we step up in the process?
I don't think the issue is with the state at all at this point.
Okay,
I think because they've approved it, now we're waiting for the plans to be done. And of course, when you talk to engineers and people like that, they are very conservative in telling you what they need to do to get the construction bid.
Right.
They have to put the bids in. And of course, that bid has to be approved by the state, and it takes more time.
It's unfortunate that the state took so long to approve something for the plans.
right.
And I
We
don't
spent
mean,
almost
and I
a
don't
year
mean to
not
blame
doing
the state
anything.
for everything, but it didn't help. They had it for 6 months. And I've been very concerned with, we're slated for the fiscal '22, and if we don't.
Fiscal '23.
I'm sorry, it's fiscal '23.
It's 22 right now. yeah.
Which begins in '22, July of '22. The paperwork or the email I got the other day from the engineer said that probably it wouldn't get started until May of '23, which concerns me because June 30th is the end of their fiscal year, and I have been told, don't worry about it, but I'm still worried and trying to get more documentation that protects us. And I don't think he's all that far off with when it's going to happen at this point. By the time you get bids out, getting people to work for anyone is really difficult right now.
Well, and then what their schedule already looks like,
Yeah.
whoever gets the bid.
I would like to get started on the, what I need for if we need easements or we need to purchase land and things like that. I will need help on that. I'm not a bridge designer.
The state won't help us with that?
I haven't gone there, but perhaps,
Yeah.
perhaps that's the way to look at it.
Well,
And we also need to talk about what our negotiation strategy would be.
Just hearing this, my thinking would be that the probably most appropriate way to do it is to look at the wide plans that we have, even if they're not the finalized plans.
Mhm.
So we know which people would be impacted in what ways. If that's land that we need to use, or whether it's within our right of way mostly, or whether it's, I believe they had mentioned a turnout that needed to go away that's not really a driveway or anything official anyway. So I believe that we should look at it and see who is impacted first, get all of those people, if it's land that needs to be gotten, and then go through looking at what is the assessed and or normal expected value of said land. And then we can sit down and use that and a buffer amount to say, we're gonna start negotiations per like square foot or square yard or whatever the appropriate thing is that we would use, up to X amount that's beyond what we think we might use.
Is the state involved in that? Because I know that anything that I've had in the past is, we owned some property and it was coming off a state road, and they put a road up on a hill, so it was, let's say Roxbury's land, town, and the state comes in and negotiates what they tell you what they need, and then they negotiate, they have a rate that they work with to what that land is worth to them. Now granted, that doesn't mean you lose your land, it's, how do I explain it? It means they need it to do it, but you still have access to that property.
They get an easement.
That's right, an easement,
Yeah.
I can't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's differences between easements and expanding rights of way and outright purchase, depending on what the
But the
situations
state
are.
wouldn't be the one to negotiate that?
That's the question.
Because that's what I'm used to.
In our contract with VHB, and this is pre all of us, the town took responsibility to do that negotiation.
Oh,
Now, I haven't asked the state, so maybe that's something to.
well, I would ask that because we'd also want to get with the going,
Mhm.
so, because we're not, especially in a situation like
I
that.
would have to go to either our assessors
Mhm.
to get some ideas, or we'd have to hire a professional to give us prices.
But I think the state also has a
I'm sure they
per
do.
acre,
I'm sure they do.
yeah, or whatever.
I
They
would-
sent me this today, I can't tell anything from that.
So I would suggest then that even if the state does not have somebody to do that for us because none of it is state road, I would request.
But neither was
We
that.
should request that they give us whatever process or people to contact they believe would be appropriate.
It's a great idea, and I'll do that.
And
Because
I have-
that piece, I'm sorry, that piece that I was telling you about that we actually owned, that was not a state road either.
Hmm.
But it had to do with the state road below, you know what I mean? So it was right across from Granite Gorge there, on that route,
Mhm.
20209, I think it is. But the road, they expanded the road coming up out there, which was a town road, and the state's the one that came to us with all the plans and negotiated all the stuff, so
Mhm.
it doesn't seem like that's not,
Well, that was probably, though, a little different situation, but it sounds like they were reconstructing the highway.
well, or 20209, yes,
Yeah.
but they're also
Yeah,
doing.
the entrance and
Yeah,
exit for it.
Was this in Roxbury?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but what they did to the road doesn't, I don't know, but
But
you're
I will
right.
talk with Ron Kleiner at the state
Mhm.
and just tell him what our dilemma is.
That's more than one page.
So
And
we
I have
got
a
bridge
dilemma.
cross
Am I,
section.
because I will own the
Those are the
land
same.
across from the bridge, should I stay out of this whole thing?
Well,
So these
I
are
think
just
that, and I
cross-sections.
mentioned to Greg from VHB, I said,
Oh.
D is in a butter,
Narrow,
and he said he knew.
original wide, wide
Um,
width.
And he said
so-
what?
He
So this is
knew
just a
that.
cross
Oh, he knew
section.
that, yeah, I'm
but
sure he knew that.
He knew that. So perhaps with decision-making, just to be safe, I would, if I were you.
Slope of
Recuse
travel.
yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, all right. Because you don't want me to ask for $1 million.
Well, I mean, that's not, I'm not worried about that, but I'm just saying, I'm just trying to, I'm thinking it might be better for you.
So these unfortunately will not
Don't
help
say.
us with this particular bid.
Yes.
Really, it's all looks
What
I-
they've,
I
what they've
sent you an
basically
email
given
back
us
and
is
told me.
cross sections. So
Oh,
this is a
yeah.
cross section of the narrow
Bridge.
original approved
Yeah.
bridge. This is the cross section of the slightly wider, what we had requested bridge. And this is a cross section of their newly approved with sidewalk
28,
bridge.
that's it's amazing. How did that all of a sudden get to be 28 feet? It's like, wow,
It's not who you are, it's who you know.
yeah, I guess so, but I don't know anybody down there, so.
Neither do
So I think the
Wait,
frustrating
yeah.
part is we really want to get this job done.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah,
It's,
that's,
So,
It's like running uphill through mud.
Yeah, I have 3 questions.
this is my daughter Tricia.
yes, yet another one of our neighbors.
Yes.
And
Yes.
who will be definitely impacted, not land-wise, but this, so my questions, 3 things. You had mentioned that the meeting for the bridge is on the 18th?
Of April.
Okay, I had it on my calendar on the 11th. I thought that was from you, Mom.
It is our second.
I leave it to the chief.
It's our second select board meeting, which would be
Yeah.
the second Monday of the
So
month.
it's the 18th,
So that's the
okay.
18th.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
One of my biggest concerns is that people drive crazy over that bridge. I mean, not, right now they're not, which is really kind of nice, but as soon as they get off that bridge, they just tear by my house. And I know the Nylons have the same problem. What can we do to make it so it's safer? You can't have police presence there 24/7, although I'd love that. Is there anything in the plans to make it safer? Like, I mean, I know you can't technically do like a stop sign or something, but is there anything that anyone's thought about for safety wise?
Well, I think the bridge itself is going to be safer. I think they're going to, not the approach, depending which way you go, but getting off of the bridge if you're going toward your house, or, I know where Dee lives. I
Yeah.
see
Yeah,
her
it's,
past
yeah,
there.
I'm.
She lives on the
Yeah.
river,
I'm the
same way
second,
on the
I'm the
river.
second house on the
Okay.
right,
Oh,
on the
all
road.
right. Okay.
The tall skinny gray one.
Okay, yeah.
So from what I remember of the last time they came and presented, which was before I was on the board, the expectations are that the bridge will be wider, so it's actually 2 lanes. And second, it will be straightened out so that the both approaches on both ends are considered safer, which would definitely be true. The part that I think goes to your concern is that most likely, since it's a safer crossing, most people are gonna try to go faster.
Right. And they'll have a straighter way to go.
Right. So what we can do about that are questions, and I know it was brought up at the public hearing, and it was mentioned that traffic calming measures can be done, but bar putting up a speed bump or something of that nature, they're generally just not very effective. So I don't know what I could do other than request from our police to A, patrol it, and B, give us ideas of what we might do. I personally would not be against having stop signs there. I don't know if that's something that can fully be considered or not. It's a little more above my pay grade than just saying, let's make it happen. But I would not be against that. However, I would also say that being at the other end of the street, where we do have a stop sign, people use that stop sign coming down from Dingett's Corner past my place as a drag strip until they bottom out on the culvert to go around the corner.
Yeah.
So the stop sign doesn't actually really help all that much either.
If they actually stop at the stop sign. I see them rolling.
Either of
through
them.
it. Yeah.
So, yes.
I mean, you walk with your daughter and everything, and people don't even care. I mean,
No.
poor Jen Carlton got hit, and
I
the
did
person
not know
never even
that.
stopped. She got hit, well, by the mirror, right?
Yeah,
Remember that? She
by
got
a
hit by
mirror, yeah. By a
And,
mirror of a vehicle. I know, why get so close, but that's,
I know. I mean, you see someone walking, you should be moving, I don't know, that's
Yeah.
just me,
I
but,
mean, I do.
yeah, no, I mean, I do too, and it's just, I'm just really nervous because we have to cross the street to get to our garage and everything, and yeah, I look both ways all the time, but even when you're walking on the side, people just are flying by there, and then if you say slow down, they just step on it, so.
And so the short version to go there is, yes, we should be looking at that, and I hope our police will come to us with ideas along with the road agent. However, in order to get the state to sign on at all, it had to be wider, it had to be straighter, it had to be more conforming to current road standards.
I'd be okay if you didn't even fix the bridge, but that's not except for if there was a fire, then I
And
guess that's fine.
I'll go back here in a second. I think you had a third question?
I do. Yeah, my third question is, talking about that turnout, that to eliminate that. So a lot of the people fishing use that to park. So if you get rid of that, where are they gonna park? I know Paul and Marilyn have a battle with people parking on their property all the time. As do I, but not, in a little lesser extent. So what can we do about that? I mean, people are gonna park regardless if they have a spot or not.
Well, to that point, I've come across the bridge and there have been 4 or 5 motorcycles just parked on the bridge.
Wow.
With people standing there looking out or whatever. They're generally not fishing, but they're
Right.
just parked there and standing there looking over the other
Well, it's a
side of the
pretty view.
bridge, whatever.
Yeah.
And I get it, but
Yeah,
stay on the bike so if, people are coming, you can move off the bridge.
yeah, I know. Well,
So,
maybe they think it's a small town, so it's not very busy. But.
yeah, so that's definitely a good point.
Is
I
this
don't know how
parking that
we
we'll
would-
take away is because of the fact of the widening of it?
Straight, yeah, widening out.
It's more so that, so when you come across the bridge towards town, it's immediately on the right there, it's that kind of little turnout. And the plans are leveling out everything, so they have to raise the roadbed enough that won't be a place that that anyone would be able to pull into.
And there's probably nothing else that we could do. per
It's not
se.
really, I mean, mostly ditches, so.
Yeah.
Well, that,
Sometimes it sounds really cool, because I think people, especially in this sense, you'd love to hear the fact that somebody fishing off the bridge, but then, you're right, then we have to think of a car.
The only thing I could think of is requesting more of Dee's land for a parking spot across from the bridge, but I'm not gonna go there right now.
well, you know what I would like to do though? There's this tremendous gully. I
Yeah.
mean, you could bury a car in it. Why?
They have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I also know, we had somebody hit a tree from a bridge and got killed too. That was
Yeah.
a long time ago. But I was gonna talk to the road agent about kind of putting a big culvert in there, and then you could flatten it out. And if somebody had a park, they could park like on the culvert or something, so I wouldn't be against, a really big culvert and go up to where my old house used to be, start there, and so that would all, because you don't need that gigantic culvert. I mean, it's nice now, but if it's a regular metal culvert, you could just have the land on there and you could park there. 'Cause
And I think you brought that up at the public hearing ages back where somebody
yeah,
did.
probably did.
And at the time, I think they said they were gonna look at it, but I have no idea
No.
what became of any of that, cause we haven't really seen much.
So maybe they'll
So
bring
can
it
you
up.
can you ask them about that as well when you talk to them next?
I have, because I knew Dee was
Oh.
concerned about it.
You're so good.
And, well, I don't know about that, but, and they did say that they were going to address that
Oh,
Perfect.
with you.
wow.
Yeah, so,
Somebody's listening, man, I'm impressed.
well, you said it several times, Dee, so finally, I picked up on it.
Okay.
Okay.
But I mean, the only other thing we can do to help mitigate anything is, some signs, and then these guys gotta do do the best they can do to be there and reprimanding people, because eventually if people know that they're being watched, they will adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should go to you are on candid camera.
I know, I thought about that too.
Well, even, maybe we could look into some signs, strictly enforced.
We'll have to talk to the
But that
state,
would
see
be
if they can pull
coming,
those
so
signs
that
down, yeah.
to look into what your concerns are, cause yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
They're
I
gonna
mean-
straighten it out a little bit, now they're gonna even go faster by your
Yeah.
house, but.
And the other thing is if they straighten out that bad hill, like by Cross Lane, and they flatten that out, there might be places for people to park on the other side of the road, you know?
One of their pitches was that it would make the entrance and exit of Frost Lane a lot better. And
Yeah.
a lot more maintainable.
Yeah, 'cause
So
that is
maybe as part of what they're doing, there might be some space up there. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either, but that's, we keep it in our brains.
Yeah, and definitely make note that when we get to the other side of this lovely project, that what we might need for some signs to at least help mitigate.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people that walk, ride bikes.
Well, and now you're gonna have people on a sidewalk fishing.
Yeah, right.
And try
so-
not to catch the car behind them, so we just need to be able to.
I have had many days, because I walk to the bridge often at lunch,
You do?
and it's true, people, I can tell if they're not gonna move over, so I'm ready to go in the woods.
Yeah.
You
He's
know?
the
yeah.
guy that
Yeah.
side is ready to jump.
You know,
That's right.
Yep.
but
And a
I
lot of
could
people.
wreck my day.
And it is beautiful. I mean, a lot of people like to look at
Oh,
the
I'll tell you,
scenery and
that's-
all that stuff, so.
It's pretty awesome, that part of it, for sure.
And
But
I-
you do need a place, that's the problem. You're right. If somebody wants to, a motorcycler wants to, you're out on that drive and you just want to pull over and then take in that, because that is a pretty cool.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's a very cool
Right.
river.
And, I would love to see, space next to our roads in much more places in town.
Oh, God,
So that
yeah,
it's
but-
safer for
yeah.
us to walk next to them
Yeah.
and or bike down them, etc. But then you're dealing with widening roads and right of ways, and a lot of people don't like that.
More
So,
money.
yes, and then there becomes maintenance of it, but
Well-
those
well-
are things for future, but
I know
It's a problem.
when the house on the corner, the big house that just got put up by the bridge,
Mhm.
that was 2 acres of land. I even asked the Conservation Committee to buy that land, so it would be like a park, not a park, but, they wouldn't, it's too small a piece of property, but I wish they did, because that would be so nice for people, just to park a little couple of cars and they can just stay there, so.
All right, any other comment on that part of it? Okay, we had another question or comment?
No, I've just heard several times the word straighten it out. My question is, when you go onto the bridge, I think that's Depot Road, is that Depot?
Depot Road
goes
is-
off to the
Depot.
right, and you go to the left onto the bridge.
Yeah.
Is it gonna straighten out away from Depot Road, or is it gonna straighten out to how are you gonna straighten? In other words, I guess basically, is it gonna take that trailer out of there?
The,
If it goes, to me, if it goes straight, coming from this town hall down that road, going straight would be to the right.
yep, down
And it would go
Clothespin
right
Bridge.
through the middle, almost right through, it'd be a lot longer bridge. So then, to get onto the bridge, is it gonna be a straight shot off of Cornhill Road, and then you're gonna have to go down to get onto Depot Road? You understand what I'm saying? If the bridge is here right now, and you go onto the bridge, and you go to Depot Road.
Coming
Depot.
from town
Come
or
from
coming
one
to town?
127, right?
No, coming from Dingus Corner.
Okay.
Okay.
You come down to the bridge,
Mhm.
and you get onto the bridge, or you take a short.
The left
slice
onto
and
the
go
bridge,
down Depot
the
Road.
left onto the bridge coming towards town
Right.
should be slightly straighter. From
Okay,
the plans that
So
we've
then it's
seen.
gonna go this way, and Depot Road's gonna be over here.
Correct.
So it's not gonna be the Y basically that it is now. It's gonna almost be a complete weird turn.
Well, I think they're gonna be more like like a T,
It'll be
not a.
closer to a T from their original plans. What the plans are now, I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
their
So we said-
original plans were closer to a T.
It sounds like the end when you're going, like you have Detour Road, if you're coming.
It was going
up
to be
this
a
way.
larger intersection to accommodate for that and the ability of people to turn. I know several people have been deciding that our guardrails really shouldn't be as close as they are, and just kind of rubbing up against them and trying to lean them over. So.
That's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what they have shown in the plans, at least back when we had the ancient public hearing. So I'll be curious to see.
I'm really staying for the next thing on this.
I'm sorry, what? I couldn't hear
He's
you.
staying for the next thing.
Oh.
So, I'm sorry, so basically what you guys are saying is that towards, the end towards Frost Lane is basically gonna be a little bit farther away from Frost Lane and going, like angling more towards Nylands, and then that will be more of a T from Detour Road?
Yeah, it should, the bridge ends should be a little further from, or I should say the push for the directional change, instead of going basically straight across the river, it will angle itself, so the upper end is a little further, I don't know if it's actually further, but away from Frost and away from Detour, so that Clothespin Bridge itself is a straighter road at that point.
And I think it's gonna be a lot flatter too. They're not gonna have that
Yeah.
dippy thing.
But is that going to really impact the Nylands?
Oh,
Is that
I don't
gonna
think so.
Cut off their garage and stuff?
They guaranteed us, or at least the engineers guaranteed us that it would not be impacting their garage. I have no idea how much of the land mass between the garage and the bridge they'll be looking at, but something there will be getting looked at. I just don't know what or how much.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the bridge? All right. Oh, was that a question on that?
Just waving.
Or-
No, I'm waiting for the next one, sale of town-owned property.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. Well, let's
Thanks,
move on to
Trish.
it.
Here we are. So I had a resident that asked if the board might be interested in selling a 7-acre property that the town owns on Pleasant Street. It used to be the town dump. So I would kind of like the board's advice. I have concerns with selling what used to be the town dump, because you don't know what's there. And I understand that it may be a place that Emmett still maybe uses to place materials or something. And I have not spoken with Emmett about it.
I think he does use that for like
I know
like
someplace
junk
over
and,
there is where like the rock and stuff goes that gets
Yeah,
crushed
that's
up.
what we're talking about, the
Yeah.
dump thing, yeah. So I doubt very much
It-
that he
Is
was.
it in a butter that is looking to purchase it?
It is not,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh.
And again, that's not in the Pillsbury Lake District, but it would, I assume you'd have it go out to bid like we normally do,
Well,
if you went ahead.
I would definitely like to know what Emmett says about if he's using it or.
I will speak with them
Or
about
other,
it, yeah.
other historical
Okay.
pieces
I
about
can
it.
tell you something historical, that's where the dump used to be in the town. And there's a lot of stuff buried there, and
Thank you.
you know,
Liability wise.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly.
You don't know what it is, yeah, exactly. Also, I was going to start looking at lots in Pillsbury Lake that can be merged
Oh, good.
and sold. I've been looking at the list that was done in 2017-18 with the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission of lots that they were suggesting be sold. Shall I go forward with that is what my question is, and come up with places that we could set out to bid?
I would be in favor of that.
I'm in favor of that,
All right.
definitely.
We have a lot of property on paper roads, which is always an issue.
Yep.
And,
If they're adding it to an existing
well, that's
parcel,
the, yeah, that, I don't know
Yeah.
what else you'd wanna do, but,
Right.
you know.
that wouldn't really matter,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, if it's to in a butter, then it doesn't matter.
So finally, the last two that I have are buildings. And one is 874 Battle Street, up the Colonial up the street. I have figured out what the town needs for a minimum bid, and it's $35,000, which covers all the taxes and expenses that we've had. And I've given enough wiggle room, because I continually have more expenses, legal expenses with that. But I think that gives myself enough wiggle room. And also, if we did have an overbid, it could be taken out of that. So I'd like to get rolling on that now that I don't have to climb through snow to show it. And,
At least it's
Steve,
close to
I-
the road, Dana, come on.
yeah, I need Phil to help me get in there.
Yep.
In fact, I'll send him in. If he goes through the floors, I'll let you know.
That's what I was wondering, how safe it could be in
Well-
there. People haven't lived in there in
I know,
15,
that's,
20 years.
I have a concern about that.
Yeah,
And
I
has
would
anybody
be.
been in there?
Phil has been in there,
Oh.
he tells me, and we've had a lot of people that weren't supposed to be in there.
Right.
have been in there.
So is
We've
it
arrested
full of-
a number of people that went in there that shouldn't have been in.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it full of furniture still too and everything?
I think so, isn't it?
Furniture, old magazines.
Wow.
Well, you know, I
Just
could
like
throw
everybody
those
just-
in.
It's like they just walked out.
The Mercedes go with it. I mean, you know.
Those, they can have them.
There's one in the
Anyway,
garage too.
yeah.
So there's actually 4 of them.
Oh, really? Oh.
Wow.
Well, and actually, that's 2 parcels which we're selling together. I mean, the garage on one side, which is a .23 acre lot, and then the house and barn is a 7 acre lot. It's very nice land.
Yeah, on the
you know,
river, it
on the
should be
river,
worth a
and
lot of money.
Needs to have the field taken care of, but anyway, that's a sad case. The other one is on Cornhill Road. I know Emmett wants to cut trees on that property before we
Okay,
sell
this
it.
is in the
Yeah.
Pillsbury Lake.
Yeah.
This is in Pillsbury Lake. It's on 173 Cornhill Road. That one is $15,000. And the reason these are a little less than other properties that we've had as far as what we need is we're jumping on this much sooner than it has happened in the past. So I just want you to know I'm gonna advertise for those.
Where do we advertise?
I have advertised in the past with Dee, I think, or did I do it with you?
Yeah, I
I
think-
know I did with Conor
Something, yeah.
Walker.
Can I ask something before you do all that?
Yeah.
Knowing the real estate market now,
Mm.
should we have a real estate dealer go in there? I mean, this is what we're in for, but do you think we should have a real estate
Well-
dealer go in there and say how much they're really worth in a real time?
I suppose you could, Dee. What our issue is we cannot have any more than what we're owed. And so
Yeah, we
there's
can't
no
keep any of
advantage
it.
to
Yeah,
us.
where'd
You
they
know,
change that law?
There's
Jeez.
no advantage to us.
Well,
to-
and who are the siblings or who would get the money, the extra money?
I have no idea. There's
So
no
what
relatives.
does happen to the money?
Well,
Let's say it goes for 100 grand.
what I
what
had
does
to
it say?
do in 18, in fact, I was at the Merrimack Superior Court today with a check for $41,000 for the excess fee on 18 Mount Vernon Terrace, because that was the excess of what we could not keep. We could not find the gentleman. We looked for him. I think we did a fairly good job of trying to find him.
Is that the Durgan property?
Yes.
I have a question similar to the Durgan property when you get on.
Okay. Anyway, so we have to, they call it an interpleader that you file with the court. And of course, that costs you money to do that.
Extra money.
And it's a nuisance, but it's what the law is.
It's
And so then where
basically
does
an
the money go?
escrow that the court
I
pays
I
on.
bet eventually, this is just me talking and not, I believe it would go to the state if it's never claimed.
Really? Because now, if you put that money in the bank till you found out could this town get the interest on that money? Never mind the money. I'm thinking of making money, Dave.
They
Come
would,
on.
they would
It's-
tell
it's
us
a good
that that
thought.
wasn't a very good thing to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, the requirement is that anything over has to be put into the court. And it's essentially, they hold it as an escrow. And
That's weird that the
at
state
the end
just
of
keeps-
whatever period
it
of
doesn't come back
time
to
it
the town.
is, then
Isn't life good?
various
Yeah.
things happen.
Typical.
And the
I
state
think-
gets it.
I think there is one process where the town can get it back, but the majority of the time, I think it just defaults to the state.
And I don't know how long that period of time is, or
Maybe we should
or
have the state legislature
if
start
they
doing
do. I
something
mean,
good.
we really made an effort trying to find relatives.
Oh, yeah, I believe you.
and all that, and.
And it's not easy.
Unfortunately, I think the gentleman was the last of his family
I
that was
think you're
still
right,
living.
because
Yeah.
I remember his mother, and there was only one kid, and I don't
Yeah.
think he ever had any
So it's
kids.
kinda sad.
So where do we advertise, D, and where else?
I did the Concord Monitor
Okay.
last time. I
Okay.
think I did the Kearsarge,
Shopper?
the one in New
Yeah.
London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, we put the bid spec and stuff on our website and
Right.
so on as well.
And then we put it on the website, and I have had a lot of interest, and I've got a list of who I told people I would send them, when we were ready to go, I would send it to. So I've had a lot of interest in that particular one.
And I would personally suggest that we not spend the extra money to put it in the Concord Monitor and things of that nature. A, because we have had lots of interest, and B, because we can't keep any extra money anyway. And it'd be different if we knew that people were still around that we would be helping.
Right.
But they're
If the
not.
state's just gonna get the money,
They're not.
if you can
yeah.
keep it as,
I agree with you, although one thing they did ask me for the interpleader was that had I put it in newspapers that it was being sold, and so that, and what do they call it, a newspaper of general circulation.
Oh, okay.
So that's, you know.
Plus, it doesn't cost anything, for us,
I
because
mean, we
we're
just
taking
take
it
it out
out
of
of whatever the
proceeds,
money
yeah.
is, so
Yeah,
we
that's
might as
true.
well do
Yeah.
it.
but I get what you're saying, it's like,
I
you'd
agree.
rather try to keep it, cause it's not gonna benefit anybody, but you'd rather benefit a local person, is
Yeah.
what you're saying. But you're saying that we have to,
And I'm a lousy real estate agent, I might.
Yeah, but for the price, you won't have to be good for
You
these
know.
prices, let me tell
That's
you.
right, as I tell Russ all the time, I have to do it, I don't have to do it well.
That's for sure.
and we can't put any limitations on what they do with that building.
Well, I mean, it comes in the zoning, what the zoning allows.
Okay,
you know.
right, well, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's not like seeing it has historical value, but that's where you'd want, if that was the case.
I don't think we can put any,
Yeah.
No, I don't think so either.
So if we wanted to change anything about it other than it being a general parcel of land, we would have to decide to do so before selling it, before putting it up. That may involve public hearings beyond the standard sale.
Kind of like seeing if the
For
town would
example,
even
if
be
we wanted
interested
to-
in, and,
Yeah.
you know, making it something historical in town, you would have to get people to
Right.
be part of that vote, just
And-
not the three of us sitting up
and
there
we're,
saying
we're
that.
giving a release deed, so basically what we're saying is, you know, we don't want anything to do with it. If we had any interest in it, we don't have it anymore.
Mhm.
We're not guaranteeing the title.
Unless we got the Historical Society to be interested in it. That is an old house, real old house.
Oh, yeah.
But,
And they could even take some of the land off, keep the house and sell the land.
How much acreage was it?
7
on that
acres.
side.
7?
Yeah.
And it's right on the river. That'd make a
Are-
great town park.
That's actually kind of where I was thinking when she said, you know, other things, you know, is we could put it to the town that, hey, do you want to vote on making this into a park or
That
something
would be
instead, since we
beautiful.
own it? We do have, of course, the park just down the street, which is across the street from us. So that would be
But
a little bit
river frontage-
interesting.
River frontage is really nice to
But
have.
oh, sure, certainly. And the other challenge would be that, at least currently, I don't believe that lot would be able to be split because we have the 5-acre minimum zoning, and it's only 7 acres. There are some grandfathered clauses that may or may not
Yeah,
allow
I
an
was gonna
additional
say, I would
split,
check those
but,
too.
I don't think that has been, I don't think, because that's not beyond the 15 or so that originally allowed for more. So I would find it hard to believe that that could be subdivided further. We should probably
Unless they use
make
the
sure
land
before we
across the
put it up.
street as a,
I can
with the
speak to
house.
someone from the planning board.
Yeah.
So we
So
should
not-
probably know that first, but
And I don't think we should put it up for sale right now at all, in my opinion. It's up to you folks, but I think we should look at all options before
I would be curious to see if if it could be split or not, because that dramatically changes what
Mhm.
can be done, whether it's the town splitting it and keeping some for historic reasons and then selling off a lot, or
Mhm.
vice versa. So I would definitely be interested in knowing what is and is not possible before making that decision. Otherwise, knowing that there is so much stuff there that we aren't going to want to deal with, and that it's the right market, I would be more inclined to sell it if we, as long as it can't be subdivided in that manner, I would be most inclined to sell it. The thing that we do have is we could state, if it is actually historic and the Historic Society has interest in it, when we put it up for bid, we could make a decision that people who want to do preservation will have a higher, order in it than just the highest bidder. But then, of course, you're weighing highest bid versus how much is that worth, and so there becomes some oddities there once you look at it. But I would be interested to know if the Historic Society had any interest in bidding it in the first place before we bother to care about trying to figure that out.
But you're also saying you could, when you put it out to bid, you could put it as, when we get the bids in, that, what would you ask for a description of what they think they're going to want to do with the property and the house? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
I guess I
the
didn't
problem,
think-
like, you can do a number of things. The problem is holding them to it.
Yeah.
Is a
well,
challenge.
Oh, yes, don't I know that, but
Um,
yes. But it might, I think the big thing here is, it's not like we're gonna cost the taxpayers any money.
No.
We're not gonna cost the people that are the heirs money, because there isn't any.
Right.
And it may be something that I would never want to tell people what to do with their property, right?
Right.
That's not who that I would feel like I would wanna vote for. But with that being said, just like saving the meeting house, just like saving anything, historically,
Well, there are many people that own historical pieces that have bought it knowing that it's something historic,
Oh,
and that they
yes.
have to keep the historic faces and so on and so forth. So that's the kind of thing
Yeah.
that could be done. I'm sure there's a way to do that in deeds and easements.
Okay.
That's above my pay grade, but that could be researched if it's something that is actually important in that manner.
I'd like to know the history on that house, because that is probably.
well, so
Couple
what do we
hundred.
do for that?
So let me see if I can figure out where I am at the moment.
Okay. Well, you're in the Grange.
I'll help.
The stage is
All right.
there.
So-
I think we want to ask the Historic Society what they know and if they would have any interest. And I think we want to know whether it can or cannot be subdivided by anyone that would purchase it or win it or us.
Uh-huh.
And we could, it might actually be worth, because it's on the river, it would be worth running that by the Conservation Commission to see if they wanted to bid towards it for any easements or anything.
Well, I'd like to see, even though the town has a park on the river, the town keeps growing, and I think even if we had 2 parts on the river, it wouldn't hurt us.
Well, maybe
No.
even access, better
Yeah,
access.
at least access,
Better
right.
access.
Better
exactly.
access wouldn't be bad.
Okay, so why don't I come back to you at the next meeting with those
Yeah.
answers?
I think
Okay.
that's
I
a
like
good
it.
idea.
Okay.
Wow, that was accomplishing. Not that we don't just wanna sell and make them, but we don't get the money. Oh, he's got a question.
Yes.
Not on that, I just have a question. I live in Pillsbury Lake.
Mhm.
Does the town own, I don't know the number of it, a house on Pennacook Circle?
Oh, that must
I'm
be,
thrilled to tell you no.
At one point,
Is somebody gonna clean that place up?
I really
'Cause I
hope
live
so, because I
behind
know
that.
exactly the house you mean, and I
It's the
really
second one on
hope
the
that,
left, it's
At-
on.
yes.
at one
it-
point in
9
time, we did
Pennacook.
own it. The previous owner bought it back.
Well, then somebody needs to get him to clean that place up.
It's the
Because
best.
I've lived there since 14, and then the last 5 years, that place is a pigsty. It's still got crap everywhere, and it's getting hot, and there's gonna be rats back there.
Yeah.
And I don't think, myself and the guy next to him at 9, I think, Pennacook Circle, should have to have rats by us back
Yeah, I think that one's 9. I think that's 9 Pennacook. So
Maybe it's
with
9, I'm not
I
with the
sure.
think it
trash.
is, I think you're right.
But,
Let me speak with the health officer again on that.
yeah, I mean, the front porch is still full of all kind of garbage.
Oh.
The sides of it are full of all kind of garbage. And again, I live directly behind that place.
Yeah.
One of the police officers' father lives within spitting distance of that house. Jordan's dad lives within spitting distance of that. So I mean, it just needs to be cleaned up.
So when they bought it back, so we didn't have, there was no thing that they had to clean it up or anything? I don't know, because I wasn't around.
The law won't let you do that.
Yeah,
The
when-
law
can't-
doesn't let you
when
do
you,
that?
when you're doing a redemption.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, we
you-
finally
you
got
don't-
that
you don't
junkyard
follow
cleaned
the-
up on Franklin Pierce Drive. Somebody bought it and they've cleaned that all up.
So,
Pretty nice.
Nice. Yeah,
so
but-
we don't actually have a junkyard or junkie yard ordinance in town. That's something that the planning board could be looking at in the near future. So you may want to speak with the planning board to suggest that, because at this point, we don't really have an enforcement mechanism other than if it's really causing a problem or a health problem, et cetera.
So that used car lot that's on Cornhill Road there.
That's an
with the
entirely
shed
different
And
thing.
all the drive trucks and all that stuff. And you need to know that now that the dissolution of Pillsbury Lake Management has come about, they no longer, they told us this last week at the PDLM meeting, PLVM or whatever. it is,
PLVD.
That the covenants that were in effect when there was a Pillsbury Lake Management are no longer in effect. And that was one of the things that kept people, was one of the complaints about the house on
And I go-
Franklin Pierce Drive. And that's one of the things that kept the lady with the shed and all the trucks and stuff there. That's why one of the reasons she had to get out there. But now you don't have the minimum of 700 square feet in Pillsbury Lake. You don't have any of those requirements and restrictions that were part of the covenants that were put in effect in 1968. You can do almost anything you want in Pillsbury Lake right now if it's not against the town ordinances. And there's gonna be a lot of people who will probably do that, especially that one house on Centennial Drive. That place is something
Yeah.
else too. So, but I just wondered, you don't own that house?
We don't.
No.
No.
My suggestion would definitely be start talking with the folks on the planning board to,
Because that's what happened to Durgan's house. That place
Yes.
was a dump, because Phil cleaned it out.
Yeah.
It was a dump, just like this place is, and it got so bad that Phil had to go in and clean it out.
Yep.
And then they couldn't sell it for years. That was the Durgan problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for being patient.
absolutely, thank you for coming. Do we have any other properties?
No, I think we're,
Okay. Do we have any other comments on properties? All right, seeing none, move on to new business. And that, the first is the distribution of the $15,000 town meeting budget amendment for fuel. I had sent out something with various line items where I thought we should distribute it across. A comment came up when this was mentioned at the department head meeting that this was not including where fuel would be for the road agent's use.
Right.
Did you come up with what the line item for that would be?
that is in the equipment rental line. There's no separate fuel line for the road agent as far as his own equipment.
Okay, so I had gotten the highway fuel for rent, but that's only when like he
That's
goes
when
and
he,
rents other
say like he
equipment.
rents the,
The tractor with
yeah,
the
the
cutting
tractor
stuff,
with the
yeah.
over-the-rail mower thing.
Okay.
But right now, and it's only been recently that Emmett's contract calls it, the price goes over a certain amount, then he can bill the town the difference. And that just gets charged to the equipment use line.
Okay. So what I had sent out, I would suggest then that we take and move basically everything that I had sent, but from the general government electric, I would suggest that we take and move 2,000 from that over to that road agent line.
Okay, so we take 2,000 out of general government electric, making that
18?
18 total.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put the other 2,000 into equipment rental for the highway department.
So that is my suggestion. Are there any other comments or questions on that change or feeling of appropriateness?
Sounds good to me.
No, because he's gonna, yeah, no, that works
Okay.
well.
So let's see, to cover, we are adding roughly 2,000 to general government propane, general government oil, safety building propane, a bit more than that. Let's see, that would be about 3,000 to general government electric for all of the electric stuff, about 2,000 to police gas. For the fire department, approximately a total of 1,750 to 2,000 across both gas and diesel, mostly in diesel. And then some of the other minor travels, and like $25 for Parks and Rec electric, just because that'll probably go up too. And a couple of the mileage things, just in case they change those rates on us. So that is, so everybody knows, that's the rough change to the budget line items to accommodate the 15,000 that was voted in at town meeting that we should spend on people and other
Looks
energy.
good, Dave. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Impressed. I mean, it looks good. And it's right at 15,000.
Yes,
Amazing.
that was the key part. At least I can sometimes do math.
That's right.
I would enjoy a motion on that one,
I think
please.
that would be good. So I would move that we change the executive mileage to 3,000, tax mileage to 500, general government propane to 5,500, general government oil to 5,000, the safety building propane to 11,000, the general government electric to 18,000, police gas to 9,000, the fire department gas to 650, the fire department diesel to 3,000, the emergency travel to 225, highway fuel to 800, welfare mileage to 275, Parks and Rec electric to 275, and add 2,000 to
Highway
the
equipment.
highway equipment. Do I hear-
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Whoops.
All right. That moves us on to reappointments.
So I have everyone whose term was expiring this year. I've talked to them on the phone and asked if they wanted to be reappointed, and I'm glad that no one turned me down. The only one I did not get a hold of was on the ZBA, Mr. Drowned. So we need to do that one, because his goes.
I thought he said he wanted to. Why did I think he said he wanted to be on the, maybe I saw him at something, voting. and
He may have said so, but just not
Yeah, didn't, he
responded to
didn't,
Dana.
oh, he didn't, okay.
Okay, I couldn't get a hold of him,
Oh,
but,
okay,
but
'cause-
then
yeah, 'cause
again,
he
I
wasn't
I knew
too-
he wasn't well, so I didn't push it either.
But I know when he was sitting there, he
Yeah.
told me, you know, I was walking out, and he said he wanted to be back on it, because I'm on the ZBA also, so, but if, maybe he's not doing,
Yeah. The other thing that was brought to my attention by the clerk when we were working on the town officers for the town report is she was missing some appointments on people. And 3 of them are me. One of them being the Capital Improvement Committee. one of them joint loss management committee, and one of the hazard mitigation committee, and if you choose not to appoint me to that, that's fine.
Right, sure it is.
But, so that's that, and you'll notice, obviously, I live in Grafton County, so that's a little different than what you're used to. Dave Hemingway on the Energy Committee,
And did you talk to Marty about that first?
to ask if he wanted you to be
Yeah,
reappointed.
I
I did
assume
not,
yes,
Dave.
but-
Yeah, should I have?
I'm going to suggest that he's going to just say yes,
Well,
but
that's okay.
technically we should.
If you approve it contingent upon me getting Marty's okay, can you do that?
That's fine.
Okay.
We sign this, right?
And if you told me no, I'd be very surprised.
I wouldn't want to surprise you.
It'd be kind of fun, actually.
It would be highly entertaining.
Look at us.
Oh, I shouldn't have done that. That one was mine.
Well, that's okay.
Oh, well.
That's all right.
We'll never know. Can't read your name anyway.
I'll
What's
have to
the
sign the
difference?
bottom too.
Oh, you know, you're writing pretty good now. I can see it's a Dave.
Not bad, dude.
If you say so. I will say, I am surprised and shocked that mine is not the least legible.
What are you trying to say? Because I want to
If
pretend
the
like I'm
shoe
a doctor or
fits
something.
now.
I think we're very lucky to have the volunteers we have.
Oh,
that are
God,
willing
yes.
to, you know, put the time into it.
Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
Do we, is there somewhere on the website that we do say, hey, these terms are up?
Russ gave me a list of what we had available.
Yeah.
And of course, we don't have it on the website, but it's in the town report when the terms are up. But I'm thinking we ought to put in on the website, as Russ
Most-
suggested, what positions are
Because some people might not
available.
even know, you know what I mean?
Most of the committees, commissions, boards, or at least used to, have the list of people on it, and then when their term expired. But you'd have to go to like the Conservation
That's right,
Commission
yeah.
or the whatever.
So what would be the harm in having,
I think that's on the website, isn't it, Russ?
Yeah.
It's on the website.
Some of them may not have it, but in general,
Yeah.
that's there.
Yeah,
I
but-
don't think we have it, for example, for the solar subcommittee, because it's a everyone's here until we're done thing. But
yeah, but I almost would like to see something where it's a little bit more, everybody's so website mannered, but it's still, for me, I was just trying to find when a certain town in New Hampshire holds their planning board meeting, and I could not find it. Now, I'm not telling you it's not there. So, me not being, so sometimes it would be nice that, you know, we had something on our website when you pulled it up and, you know, people were looking at different things where it said available positions or volunteers needed, right there.
Yeah.
It would be, to me,
needed, I like that.
so let's say you
Maybe
come into
they're working
town.
on that. It's one of the reasons I created the list for it.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I wanted to maybe put something in the grapevine or put it on the main page of the website.
At least
Or in
that.
my office and Michelle's, because Michelle gets a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah.
At least that'd be where people could see it.
Agreed. And then that way people, like, let's say you move to town and you say, God, I really want to be part of the town. What?
I think it's a nice idea.
What
My
volunteer?
Cracker Jack webmaster will.
Okay, work on that.
Have that.
Speaking of
It's
the just
not me.
moving to town,
Also, I try to get volunteers for the lasso every chance I get.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not saying you're gonna get like a flood of them or anything, I'm just saying it would be, some people would like to know.
I think it's
That's
good
true, I
information.
agree.
yeah, in speaking of moving to town, like when I first came, it was already fairly outdated, but we had a welcome letter that the town/select board had that said,
Oh.
welcome to town, here are the positions, here are like local businesses that are in ours and
I like
neighboring
that.
towns and so on. It's
No,
unfortunate.
it's really cool.
It's unfortunately fairly out of date, and it was then. But that's something I would like us, when we have our spare time, to get back to
Absolutely.
having a newer version of, so.
I think that's wonderful, yeah. I mean, I moved from a town where I grew up in to Webster, and my kid almost couldn't play T-ball because I didn't sign him up in time. you know?
Mhm.
So there's just things that we can, now with websites and stuff, I mean, that was a long time ago.
Mhm.
At
Yeah.
least you could go on and look. And our website's pretty easy to read, which is nice.
All right, take these
It
back.
is
Send these
fortunately
back
a
to
lot better
Dave.
than it was.
You can sign that. Well, you have to sign
But I
that at
asked
the
you a
bottom.
question the other day.
Well,
that was
I
right
will,
there.
once I do the swearing in.
Oh, okay,
or-
okay.
You know, like, geez,
Well,
Marlo.
I'm the same way, Marlo.
So I would move that we accept all of the nominations and reappointments as submitted pursuant to approval by the appropriate chair folks.
Second that, don't let him get away.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Do we have anything else in that?
No.
All right. That moves us on to correspondence.
Yes. As soon as I find it, I'll talk about it. There we go. We have a few non-action items and we have a couple action items. So in there was the latest Conservation Commission minutes that I wanted you to see. I have correspondence from an engineer that I'm thinking we're going to talk about in a non-public session. There is a letter offering professional forest services. And finally, I do have an action item of an abatement for some camper taxes that is more cost-effective to abate than to lien.
Well, that was easy.
Just for some, it would cost $45 to.
Oh, yeah, no.
I would move that we abate the total. Do we even need a motion for that?
No, if you
No,
sign it,
just-
I'm
Okay.
happy.
Sign it.
Yeah.
Public, it's like $8.
The total is $23 for
Oh,
1, 2, 3, 4,
Really fast.
6 properties and $23 total.
Wow.
Clean the books.
Yes, making everything appropriate is, and as correct
That
as possible.
sounds way better than clean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully you got the.
What, we just got this letter today, which was not in your packet, from CIA Technologies, which is our mapping people.
Okay.
And what are they saying, Russ? They're updating
They're
their new
updating
technology?
the GIS web portal on our website. They're doing something to make it more streamlined and easier to use. I haven't seen what it's gonna look like. But from the letter, it seems they're doing a couple of new things and I look forward to playing with it. It's added.
Hmm.
I don't know exactly what it is, but
They
they're
all
saying
say
they're doing
that, they
it.
all say that.
Oh, I know.
Sounds good.
Doesn't
What
cost us anything.
What
so-
computer people think is easy, Dave, compared to what Marlo thinks is easy.
I will
Dave?
I will simply say that when I'm happy to say that I was mostly a quality assurance engineer.
Okay.
And most of my job, which rather than does it work, most of my job was, this is how people want to use it, you should make it that way.
Oh, yeah,
So
good.
I was much more of a user
Good.
advocate than a, no, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Don't get me on the buttons and what they mean, because,
Also in that section, Dave asked me today about where we were on the ordinances and policy updates. And you've really made a good dent in those. But I was wondering if you wanted to reaffirm the ones we've changed and sign the updated paperwork on that. And so, and I think you've reviewed all of these. The only ordinance you've changed is this false alarm
No.
ordinance that we
Yeah, to
combined the
combine them.
police and the fire together. And we've adjusted the fines.
My one question, especially since we have the chief of police
Yes.
here, registration of alarms. We have that fire systems shall be registered with the appropriate agency, but not burglar alarms. Was that included, and or should it be?
Everybody that has them in town, or almost everybody that we know of, pre-registers with us so that should the alarm go off, we know that there's an alarm there and where the property exists, what the kind of alarm is, who's the alarm system, who's the call-out person. So we have a form for that they fill out. We don't charge for it, because the only time we charge for it is if they get a lot of false alarms.
And with fire, I don't believe we charge for that either, but it is required in here that they need to register, or if there is a call, then there is a fine that happens. If it comes from that, should that also include police, or has it in the
I
past?
don't know if you can mandate somebody to, if they have an alarm.
So so that's not been in there in the past
Yeah,
then? Okay,
It's never
just
been
making
before.
sure that was not an omission. And the others basically match they match the charges and stuff, so it's simply putting the two into one to make it more readable.
So we're signing this baby thing?
Well,
Please, yeah.
you know, make sure that those match what you're expecting, but otherwise, yes, to me, it looks like what we
We talked
requested.
about this before,
Yep.
so.
You did, yeah.
It's what we requested he change it to,
Yeah, so I
I think,
think, I trust him.
I wouldn't.
Too late for that.
I try.
So what are the other ones that we have?
Okay, the next I have policies. I have the accounting policies and procedures, and basically you just changed a few titles in there, which I have done. And I can tell you what you asked.
There goes a cop. Chasing somebody.
Oh.
Doing his job. He just
They
wants to
really
flash his
should-
lights, show
They
what's
shouldn't
working.
go that fast up the street. What are the total, like, how many policies do we have that we are signing / reaffirming? I'd like to just make a motion to do all of them.
I think you've got probably about 8.
Can you list the names?
Yes, I can. And then I might be wrong on the total. Okay, so you've got the accounting and.
Fire. Sorry, the
That's
accounting
that's
and
an
the alarm
ordinance,
ordinance.
yeah. So you've got the accounting and accounting procedures policy.
Are there any other ordinances?
There are not.
Okay, so I would move that we reaffirm the false alarm ordinance as now combined for fire and police department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we'll finish signing that. Carry on.
So the policies that you've got are the accounting procedures policy. And the title is in front of you, Dave, so if you can just tell me if I'm wrong on that.
Accounting policies and procedures.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Then I have the agenda topics policy, the email policy,
Mhm.
the fraud policy, the harassment policy, the fund balance policy, F-U-N-D, my lord.
I know.
The appointment procedure policy, appointment meaning appointment to committees. The meeting live streaming and video recording policy. The investment policy.
I do. So so on this one, the investment policy, I have the old,
Yes, I have to have the treasurer in there.
okay. Do we
So
read
if you
it?
would sign the last page, and I'll get the other signatures on it.
No, if my name's not there.
Didn't I put it on?
I think you left me out.
Did I leave you
Yeah.
on? Oh, that must be.
I'm
I
not
must
that
have given-
forgettable.
I must-
Dana, come on now.
One moment, please. I have several papers in front of me that seem to be a little confused.
All right, so
Let me
goes
check
with
that
I'm
out.
gonna steal my pen, Dave. but,
Oh,
so I
That's why.
Good help is so hard to find.
See, I can just go get mine.
Now that the meeting's almost over, good idea.
Well, I was gonna do it earlier, and you just kept handing me yours.
That's quite all right. I can share. I was learned how to share when I was a kid. Mostly because I had all these brothers.
And yep, so that's the conflict order, et cetera, okay.
Ah,
Great. Sorry.
here you are, Viola.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry.
That's okay, so that
Gave
goes
you
with
the
the
wrong one.
investment policy,
That's
right
the,
here.
that's
Yep.
the end of that, yeah.
Yep. Shows you're paying attention,
It was, all I just did that. to make
I
sure,
know.
Of course.
not daydreaming over here.
Actually, let me double check. This was going to. Reporting. Where's that order? Yes, okay, to town administrator first, that's correct. That's just reaffirming. Investment. Reaffirm.
And these are gonna go in your little book.
I'm so excited about my book. You know, it almost keeps me calm,
Yeah.
you know, when
Yeah.
I can work in my little book.
It's nice that we're getting through these.
Well,
Actually, you've done pretty well. There aren't that many more
Mhm.
of these. Some of the big ones that we'll have to go through. The safety policy, you would ask me to send it to the joint loss management. They haven't met yet, but,
Mhm.
that will happen. That's a big one.
There they go again. They're busy up there.
Jeez, that's scary.
Well, you know, we do have a drag strip outside.
Yeah. No, that scares me when there's too many going up there.
That sounds like fire. Yep, that's the ambulance.
Ambulance.
Well, I hope they're okay.
My God, the chief's radio's not going crazy.
Quiet.
So are you, did you motion
Is
for
that-
those?
not
Those are-
yet.
Okay, those are all of those.
Okay. So I move that we accept and reaffirm the policies as presented.
We will list them,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, oh, second, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye. Just sleeping here. No problem.
Then I have 4 policies. I think you haven't voted to rescind all of these yet. Oh, maybe you have on the.
I don't think we voted to rescind any.
I don't think
we've
you
agreed
did.
that we should
Yeah.
on some of them.
Okay, well, one is the delegation of deposit authority policy, which is a state statute anyway, and I don't think we need that.
Mhm.
And then there are 3 related to the police. I have talked with Steve about them. And one I'm quite amused by, the disciplinary procedures for the police chief, which is covered elsewhere.
That's in the RSA's.
And then there's the policy for the use of the police cruiser, which we felt was a operating procedure thing rather than a town policy. And then the on-call policy, which is also, we thought was a operating procedure.
Do we want to keep the policies until we have a procedures book, or?
It's a quiet man over there.
You know, I mean, They have a procedures book.
Do
There.
you already I mean, I know this is the way that you do it, but.
We have our own policies and procedures, that actually are more strict than, the
Ooh,
ones the town
geez.
has. We don't do an on-call anymore. I mean, they call us all the time. Previously, they used to get paid $2 an hour for being on call, and that went away. And that's
Okay.
what, basically what that, some of that policy was all.
That makes sense then.
Arranged for, but now it's, they call us, we go out, and if you go out, you get paid overtime for it.
Rather than being paid a
And-
small
and hourly,
stipend to
it was a
just be
stipend, plus
available.
If you
Yeah.
get called out,
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
overtime anyway.
And what is your policy and or procedure for the cruisers? Because I know that, reading that and some of the history behind why it was there.
So the lieutenant takes a car home,
Mhm.
I take a car home, the other car's at the station for everybody else. Unless one of the cars break down, then they either take the lieutenant's or I leave mine here for him. Lieutenant does, because he's on call almost every day. They call him. If I'm not around, they call him and he goes, there's no questions. And he don't charge for that, nothing, he just has the car there so he can get there quickly. And it's the smartest thing to do.
Mhm. All right.
Do you have people ask you to go on a ride-along?
Yes. We have a ride-along policy.
I
They
might
have to
know.
sign off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, anybody, we encourage them, we'd like them to come along.
Mm.
I did a ride-along with the Boston Police years ago. Boy, I'll tell you, I learned a lot. It was unbelievable.
That probably had more action.
Yeah, a little bit more.
I went with the Berlin, Vermont police once, and that was enough for me.
Yeah. He's never asked for another ride-along again.
And I was so naive, I didn't really know. Of course, I got in the back seat to do a story in the back of, it was a fire at one time, not this time. Get in the back seat, I didn't know that there's no door handle, so you can get out of the back seat.
I know,
So then they thought that was pretty funny,
You're
I'll
lucky
tell
they
you.
let you out.
Yeah, I know.
Dee, where is she? In the back of the cruiser.
So are you ready to rescind those?
Yes.
Okay. These-
Yes.
These are the ones.
Does anybody want to make that motion?
I
Just
make
so
a
I'm not
motion
doing
to
all of them.
rescind these policies that are not necessary. And I think I just corrected my language of what was really in my head that I was going to say. So, yeah. We don't think we have to sign anything, just,
All
right?
in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
When we touch it, you want to touch it?
Oh, no.
Okay.
You have to touch it, Dee, to make sure.
Oh,
it's
gee.
there. So that project's really come along nicely.
Yay.
And we have a few more, which I'll be talking to you about.
Is it appropriate for us to have a copy of your policies and procedures, book, manual, whatever you have?
We usually don't, but I mean,
I don't
anybody
think,
can come see them or view them, or, if you guys want a copy, I don't have a problem.
I was just figuring, since we have all of the other stuff, it might make sense just to have a copy around in case someone asks for all of the procedures and policies for town.
It would go in the same book, right?
Maybe I'll have to, I'm gonna add a few chapters.
I think that would be a different book. They
Why?
have their
Why
own
wouldn't you just
stuff.
have your policy procedures? I thought, well, then that didn't make sense, Dave.
It's all
All the
police.
policies and procedures for the town of Webster peeps.
Sure.
but now I have
I
a
mean, that would make a
question.
little more sense to me, like if I came in and said, what is the policy and procedures of police? Dana?
And I'd
And
like
you'd
to
say-
say, here you are, here's our book, and I'll
Right.
get a man and a boy to bring it out for you.
I don't know.
Well, that's the only thing
I
I
know.
just wonder, is that public knowledge?
It normally isn't.
Ah.
That's why I don't
But
know.
if they came up and sat down with me, I'd explain it and show it to them. It's not, we're an open door book. We have nothing to hide.
But I don't think.
But to be honest with
We'll
you, why
explain
would you
everything.
want, why would you hide what a policy, I mean,
Yeah.
I think the townspeople would have a right to know.
That's just insane.
Like
to hide.
even
Why would
the
you do
car,
that?
the car thing is you explain it, you know, that's very, you know, cause we all kinda think, we have company vehicles, people take, well, how come they get to? Well, they're on call and if they need to go somewhere quickly, so it's not just so
It's a
they
lot-
can,
It's a lot better to go from our car to where we gotta go instead of come to the station.
Oh,
take the
Yeah,
car
right,
out.
oh,
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Especially depending on where it is.
Oh, I remember when it used to be, some certain people didn't like that, it was out of
Yeah.
town, yeah.
I don't know, I guess they thought you were going grocery shopping.
Well,
But you know, it's
It is
just
a
like,
fine line, but that's,
I can
Yeah.
remember years ago, somebody
can be
lived in
expensive.
Webster in a main street, and with the fire department, where, the old one, they'd get all mad because people, they'd be training with the fire department, you know, and the lights would flash, it's like 9 o'clock at night, and these people are all mad at town meeting. It's like, but boy, if you had a fire there, you wanna see those people in less than that. So, but it was just, I can remember, it was just kinda so crazy, but.
It's kind of exciting. I can hear all the fire trucks go out where I live. And,
Yeah.
you know, I live just up on the hill and it all comes right up. I kind of like it, you know,
Yeah.
living in New York
Please
City.
know they're doing that.
You know they're
Seems they're
keeping
going out
everybody
every 2
safe.
minutes.
All right. It is nice to have that project moving along. Do we have anything further along those lines or correspondence?
I have nothing further in that
I do
category.
have one more topic. For the record record digitization, I cannot say that tonight. So I
Record
found-
digitization.
Thank you, Dave. I found out before we approved the contract that there were some additional fees in that contract that I had previously had not been aware of. So it would have a $5,700 annual fee just for the licenses. Is that something the board would still want to move forward with, or do we not want to move forward?
how much was it?
$5,700 a year.
Oh,
Dave, I'm gonna go downstairs a minute because I didn't do Mr. Pulowski's appointment. I'd
Okay.
like you to say that. I'll be right back.
Yep. I believe there were other options, and we were looking at total costs when we made that
Correct.
decision.
Because I had been told by the vendor that that would be a one-time fee, and then we would not be paying it annually. And then upon further discussion, it found out that we would be paying that fee annually. So now it's up to debate again on which one would be the cheapest bidder. So that's something, do we want me to go back and look into it?
I personally am still interested in seeing the project go forward. I would hope that the Records Retention Committee would relook at the bids and the options and
That is
get
something I
back in
already
touch with more
discussed with the
appropriate
town
folks.
clerk, and they said we want to hold another meeting to just talk about that. But I want to be able to tell the vendor tomorrow, hopefully, whether we're going to move forward with it or not. And if we're not, then I will tell the vendor, we have reconsidered the bid, and then maybe there's something they can do to make it a little bit less expensive for the town, and give them that option.
Of the other options, did all of them have yearly?
All
Okay.
three of them now have a yearly subscription fee. And now it's whether we adopt their software or we just do the scanning. Because we could just do the scanning and maybe set something up ourselves, or once again, talk to some of the other vendors. Because I do happen by coincidence to be, have an inside on one of the other vendors, and they have already talked to me, and they might be able to offer us a better deal because they know more about our situation. So that's still on the table too, but I haven't seen what that better option looks like.
Personally, I would be more inclined to say, have the discussions and
Come back to the board.
move forward, and then come back to the board with what the cheapest option and or most recommended option by the Records Retention Committee is. What's the rest of the board's?
Yeah, I
second
agree
that.
with you 100%.
Okay, then we'll go back to putting it out to bid again and looking into the other options.
All right. Thank you. And I know Dana will be back momentarily with some more documents to
Let's
add
approve some
to
minutes.
our other documents.
Yeah,
Oh,
we can
lucky
approve
us.
them, that's right.
So while that's going, yes, let's go ahead and go to the minutes.
Wait, I have something.
Yes.
Public comment. I'd like to publicly comment,
Oh,
thanking this man for the food and stuff that he did, those waffles and things. Boy, talk about, that was way above and beyond, and I appreciate it, and it's nice to hire a man that can cook.
yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for supporting all of the elections staff
Yes.
during our election days.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just terrific. I mean,
And
it
Paul
was,
brought brought
Yeah, the
American
American
Suey.
Chop Suey, that's right, thank him too.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe we
and
should
thank
write
you,
letters.
everybody.
Maybe we should write letters.
Well,
Anyway,
we're getting
appreciate
live
it.
streamed.
Yeah.
I have a public comment too.
Oh,
Well, I was gonna move to those, but yes, let's go ahead and do public
Do
comment.
we have flags for replacement? Did you see the one at Allen Road and Battle Street?
no,
It is tatted and the bottom half is ripped right off and it's hanging by just
Oh, wow.
the top pilot.
Unfortunately, I don't normally go up there.
No, I don't
know if
either.
they have
I
any,
know that Dana has had some ordered in the past and that we've had this one replaced. So I would say just make sure that Dana knows that we need a new one, and
Okay.
if he has one, we can
There is
get it up
one.
there. If
Yeah,
he
there's no doubt in
doesn't,
my
we can
mind
order
that-
one.
here comes the
there
man
are
of the
certain
hour.
people that will be calling and screaming because it's not taken care of.
Yep. Yeah, and that should definitely be taken care of. So,
Another job for Dana.
yep. We're adding to your list.
Oh, good.
If you have a spare flag set aside already, otherwise, if not, to make sure that we get one as appropriate for up the road. as
Allen
appar-
Road.
Allen Road,
and Battle.
as
the,
apparently it
memorial.
is in poor condition now.
Who runs that flag?
I think it's Mr. Pearson.
Robert?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if he's the one who replaces it or we do, but it's in bad shape.
I'll call him and find out.
Would our Parks Department know?
Brenda might know, yeah. But I do know, Judy told me one time that she used to go up and bring it down and up, but I can't do that. It's got a key to do it, and, thank you. I mean, we certainly can get a flag, that's no.
Yeah,
that's
I
no
would
problem.
assume that Brenda would know,
Yeah,
at least.
okay.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? All right, so then we'll go ahead and move on to the meeting minutes. Did either of you see anything that needed to change in the minutes?
Didn't even get any spelling errors.
You can thank the grammar wizard of Webster.
Russ, you should take bows.
Yeah,
I
true.
didn't do that part. No.
Can I get an A?
Wow.
Make a motion that we accept the
See you
select
later.
board meeting minutes from March 7th, 2022.
As written?
As written, I'm sorry, Bill.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And you're missing one set of minutes because I forgot to put it in the packet. So that'll appear next time.
Till the next
Don't
time.
link to yourself.
Sounds good. Do we have motions for the trustees?
Yes.
Yes. I move that we request the trustees of trust funds to issue a check in the amount of $1,300 to pay invoice 207833 payable to Cohen Steel Supply for the steel plate for Clothespin Bridge. These funds to come from Bridge and Culvert Capital Reserve Fund.
Second.
Is that the appropriate amount on there as well?
I'm sorry.
Which I believe it all is, but
You were saying,
the 1,300.
yeah, yep.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would move that we request the trustees of trust funds to issue a check in the amount of $1,796.52 for invoice 368753-33 to VHB Engineers for engineering services for Clothespin Bridge. These funds to come from the Bridge and Culvert Capital Reserve Fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have some ARPA bills.
Oh. Which ones are?
Oh, this is big stuff.
Yes, okay. These are to replace/fix the cellular network extender that is up at the public safety building so that things actually work for them
Oh,
when
good.
they're trying to respond.
Oh, good.
I would move to approve the payment from ARPA funds to pay $187.49 to Verizon for the purchase of a network extender.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I would move to approve the payment from ARPA in the amount of $110.87 to Galls for the first responder extra kit.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Look at the paper flying.
I know.
it's good. Ah, yes, manifests. These are previous to raise, okay.
And you don't, Karen's is not in there anyway. She gets paid once a month, the first payroll of the month, so hers is not in there. And,
Just making sure I had it straight.
yep, you
And
do.
that I knew
There are
what I
no
was
changes in that one.
Looking at.
So the 41,000 to Merrimack.
That's the money that I had to take to the
Oh,
court.
yeah, you just got done, I was searching.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Of course, it's gotta come out of somewhere, doesn't it?
right.
You don't just pull it out of your pocket.
I would love to, Milo, but you know,
I'm like, what?
my wife handles the money and so she probably wouldn't like it.
No, she'd probably lock the door. You'd have to stay at the fire station. No, I was kidding. Ride the ladder truck.
Getting money out of her is murder. Although it's handy sometimes, because I can say to the kids, you could ask her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a question looking at this, for the Sugar River Bank one, which is the police cruiser. We need to fund that first, correctly?
I think, what was the check for Sugar River?
31,000?
Okay, 21,000.
Oh, this is to go to them?
Yes, that's we'll give that to the trustees for them to deposit into those accounts, and that's how we fund those accounts.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I thought we normally made a motion for funding. No, we don't. Those
No,
just
they're-
come out of when we're
yeah,
doing it. Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And we're funding that one because we know we're gonna withdraw it
Mhm.
really before it hardly hits the bank.
Okay, that way?
Yep.
Yeah, these go this way too, I don't think. Bridge
Oh,
things.
The bridge engineering things,
They tell
which
us so much.
unfortunately are not helpful.
Yeah, not to me.
Wait,
So,
what?
somewhere
Are
we
we
had
paying a lot of
the
money for
actual
that?
That
engineering
was the
plans that
17th.
showed like where they
Oh,
were
did?
planning to
We
put
had
the road.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was all part
Final
of the, no, those were all part of the public hearing, and then they had sent us a draft at one point for the wider bridge that we had requested, and that's what was sent to the state. But then I don't know where all of
I'm
that
not
went.
sure where that went.
It's surprise. It walked off.
I don't remember the first.
Maybe they just showed it to us and we didn't
Yeah.
actually get a copy?
I
That
don't
could
remember
be.
the first public hearing
hate
on that, but I thought we had the other one, but maybe.
It's still
All right.
hiding.
Do we have further documents or similar or motions for,
I have nothing further in the public session.
okay? And I don't see anything else further on the agenda, other than I believe you wanted to go into non-public for one of the correspondence.
Yes. Yeah, I'd like that under
Wasn't there a
reputation.
second I think there was a second correspondence that we were gonna talk about
The
that might not be
timber.
non-public?
Yeah.
Yeah, the timber one. That one, I don't know that needs to be
That was just for your, no, didn't think that was non-public. That was just a letter we got
Yep.
that I just wanted you to see.
So I will simply ask, without divulging what's on it, in case the answer is yes, or in case the answer is we should look into these kinds of services. As someone that knows the industry a lot better, am I incorrect in my assumption that the state already does this?
Yep. and there's other,
So,
yes, the state, if you had any issues or if you had questions, they got your UNH, extant, UNH does it right over to Merrimack County, you can call over there as a town, if you ever had any questions. I don't see a need in this town because, also the amount of private land, there's not a lot of town land, and that's the only time I would really see something like that being part of it.
Yeah.
And then also, I also do that for work, so I kind of find it would be kind of like,
because that's kind of part of everything that any logger would do, right?
well, yes and no, meaning, so let's say you have your property and you say, could you come log it for me?
Mhm.
Okay, well, there's a couple ways of doing it. We actually have a licensed forester on staff, so, we utilize him, for best practices and management. But you can also hire somebody that doesn't have a forester on staff, you know what I mean? And, it's buyer beware, do your due diligence. As a town, I don't see a need.
I know that some larger towns.
Right, that have a lot
that
of.
may have a town forest.
Right, and a
they
lot
may
of-
have some interest in harvesting, and they,
Right.
they don't want to handle it themselves.
That's right.
or
They would hire.
things. They might hire a
Mhm.
forester. So I take this letter as just saying I'm available and. I
Well,
can
right,
do
because
work
that's
and,
also what
you know.
they also would say, oh, we can offer our services
Oh, I'm
too.
sure.
So,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that I was correct in my thinking that it's
Yes.
not something we really need.
No.
Plus a lot of our land is already in the government's hands, so.
I don't know. I got a
nothing-
tree out back though. I really just some professional advice.
Well,
Okay,
$60 an hour.
so beyond
And he's
that,
probably not gonna come out with his chainsaw, so that price goes up.
yeah, any last comments, questions for the public session?
No.
All right, then which is the,
It's going to be under reputation 91A
Reputation.
3
all right,
2C.
I would move that we enter into non-public session under reputation at 8:55.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And for anybody watching online, we will, once this commences, we will immediately commence the public meeting as well once we come out of non-public session. So there will be no